Marc, great that you're here at the Digital Festival. You've got a Swiss ancestry. Were you able to connect to your Swiss family?
Digital Festival was a great opportunity and excuse for me to come spend about 2 weeks touring Switzerland. I have a family in Zurich, I have family in Andermatt, I have family in Chur, and we made a great tour. Yeah, my family actually goes back to about the 1500s that we can track, all in the Andermatt area.
What was your impression of the Digital Festival?
It's great to see all of the corporations, I think, especially folks thinking about innovation, really leaning in and kind of embracing that this is not just something they need to pay attention to, but it's actually a key strategy for the future success of their organizations, as well as attracting, retaining talent, and supporting the next generation as well.
Having spent 2 weeks here in Switzerland, what's your impression of digital Switzerland, so to speak?
Oh, Switzerland. Some areas it's really advanced, right? Other areas it's still catching up. But Switzerland, probably at the cutting edge in terms of technology for most of history. So I always am rooting for Switzerland to continue to lead the charge in Europe and for the world in many areas.
Changing tack a bit, what was your biggest career decision or career choice that you ever got wrong?
I have a great career decision that I totally fucked up. As soon as our organization started growing, we were about 50 people in size. We were bringing in kind of bigger partners, and a lot of folks kept saying, okay, you need to go hire some gray hair, some people with a lot more experience. So I went out and did that with their guidance, with their support, and what that did kind of for the original team, yes, some folks were less experienced, but it also pushed out the original leaders that really knew the business better than anybody, that also were the cultural and spiritual leaders of the organization. So I think I would have kept them around to help truly lead the company and focus on education rather than bringing in outside experience, at least for some core aspects of the business.
If you could go back, what would your advice be to your younger self?
We talk about you develop some type of complex, right, as an entrepreneur. Am I good enough? Can I actually do it? Am I capable of doing this? I think my advice to myself would be, everybody's faking it. Learning by experience, knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know, rely on those, and have a lot of strength and courage for being on the path of entrepreneurship, because everybody is trying to figure it out. Nobody has all the answers.
Which takes us to entrepreneurship. I mean, what are the biggest traits an entrepreneur can have?
Oh, I go back to motivation. Motivation is probably one of the core ones. Are you really committed to this? Are you committed to this for a long time? That's probably one. Number two is the people that you are going to work with. Probably the most important thing. You end up spending more time with your early team, your co-founders, than you do with a spouse or anybody else for that matter. So you better love working with those people. And number three might be the traits. You got to be ready. You got to be willing to hit rock bottom. I don't want to necessarily take risks, but you have to be comfortable with going to sleep every night, waking up in the morning not having the answers, not knowing if you're going to have the answers. And it's tough. It's a muscle that you have to build, really.
Now, risks. We're in Switzerland here, the country of insurance, of risk mitigation, so to speak. And it's fair to say here in Switzerland we're probably a bit more risk averse. And what is the how would you go about sort of introducing this not being afraid of failure into Switzerland, but also generally into an entrepreneur?
I would actually argue entrepreneurship isn't about taking risks. Statistically, entrepreneurs are actually less risk averse, more risk averse than the general population, which is interesting when you think about what it takes to really become an entrepreneur. I think it really takes practice. I think it's more about exercising, it's like training for a sport, building muscles. Entrepreneurship, knowing and being comfortable with certain situations that the general population is not comfortable with. I think it's more about that dynamic than it is about the actual the risk side of the equation. Are you comfortable always standing up and having people oppose you, tell you it's a bad idea, telling you can't do things?
And do you think, can you foster the culture, maybe on a broader, not just entrepreneurs, but in a company, can you foster a culture of fearlessness, so to speak?
I think just by doing it. Some companies do a great job of it. Others are constantly trying. So you can absolutely foster that culture, but it really comes down to the leaders behind that. They have to be able to represent and walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.